Assalamualaikum and good evening to all of you. Today our group would like to present about the practical for this lab, which is pieces. For this practical, the fish was used. So first of all, I will explain about fish. As we know, the fish represent some 5 classes which are distinct from one another as the 4 classes of familiar air-breathing animals such as amphibian, reptile, bird and mammal. Fish can be assumed as earliest vertebrate that can be found in freshwater and saltwater of the world. The fish evolved from a group of lower aquatic chordate, while the terrestrial vertebrate evolved from the fish. Fish is the limbless aquatic vertebrate animal with fin and internal gills that allow the fish to live in the water. As the member of chordate, the fish also share a certain feature with other vertebrates such as gill slit at some point in the life cycle, a notochord or skeletal supporting rod, a dorsal hollow nerve cord, and a tail. They also swim by flexing their bodies and tail back and forth. Next, the fish also can be divided into several groups such as hardfish, lamprey, cartilaginous, and bony fish. The main point of focus of this experiment are to examine or study their behavior, external and internal anatomy of the fish. For the experiment, two ways was used to study the fish, which is dissection for internal, while for external anatomy and the behavior, the observation was used. This method will allow their relationship related between the structure and their function compared to other organisms.
3.0 Maturing and apparatus. Catfish, Bas baramudi, whiptail stingray, dissection kit, glove, white A4 paper to be fencer. 4.0 Procedure. 4.1 Identifications of body shape and form of fish mouth. Observe 3 types of fish and sort of body shape and form of fish mouth. Discuss the difference between the fish. 4.2 External morphology of stingray. Examine the external morphology of stingray. Draw and label. Look at the stingray skin, including under the dissecting scope. Locate the various fins: anterior dorsal, posterior dorsal, tail, anal, pelvic, and pectoral fins. Note the bony ray of the fins and the lack of external muscle. Examine and determine the form of stingray mouth.
4.2.2 Barramundi. First, examine the external morphology of barramundi. Draw and label. Look at the barramundi skin, including under the dissecting scope. Locate the various fins: dorsal fin, caudal tail, anal fin, pelvic, and pectoral fins. Note the bony rays of the fins and the lack of external muscles. And then find the lateral line. Go back further into the barramundi's mouth and find the gill arches. Locate the operculum gill covers and look inside. Next is catfish. First, examine the external morphology of catfish. Draw and label. Look at the catfish skin, including under the dissecting scope. Locate the various fins: dorsal fin, caudal fin, anal fin, pelvic, and pectoral fins. Note the bony rays of the fins and the lack of external muscles. Identify all the barbels and find the lateral line. Go back further into the catfish mouth and find the gill arches. Locate the operculum gill covers and look inside.
4.3 Internal morphology of stingray. Hold the fish in your hand, belly facing up, and cut it open from anus to the neck. Do not insert the blade too far, or you will damage the internal anatomy. Cut around the body cavity so as to expose the internal organs. Examine the fish inside and locate the heart, liver, stomach, intestine, egg, and bladder. Use the scalpel to dissect the eyes. Be very careful. Cut the eyes open and find a lens. Examine the fish mouth and gill.
Trying to squirt, but it can't really.
Enough through the skin.
Trying to get the...
There we go. Okay.
Ooh, look at that.
So now I'm gonna make a incision right there.
An incision. You remember.
We just folded up the bottom part. Or folded open the bottom part. You did a good job.
Folded it? Like this?
Stop.
Is that what you did?
Kinda, yeah. Yeah, like that. There you go.
Oh my god.
Yep, I was told by Riley that this is what he did yesterday. He bent it. Right here, what we've got is the.
What even is that?
This is the liver.
This is the liver. No, that's the liver. This, yeah, this thing's the liver. It makes for a good video, right?
Hey, Ori, how does this make you feel?
Pretty good. Look at that intestines.
Ooh, look at that intestine.
Look at that.
Oh, pull it up. Get the goo in there. Look at all that goo.
Oh,
It's
it's
a lot
like
of goo.
It's like a pool of juice in there.
Disgusting.
His body
I don't think I can put this on YouTube, probably.
It violates the terms.
Yeah.
It's a sausage.
Alright, here's what I'm gonna take the. Oh.
I was just making you bathe their fish.
We've got the intestines,
Yeah.
the liver, and the kidney.
Is that the kidney?
Yep.
Are you sure?
Yep.
Does it have a pancreas?
And now what
What
we're
is
gonna
the
do is
importance
we're just
of
gonna
it?
rub it in. We're just gonna rub its insides.
20 minutes.
I had to look up the exact thing. It's not because it's dead.
Ooh,
You've been filming for
Focus.
4 minutes. You know how much megabytes that is in our phone?
yes, I do actually.
What's left of it.
That is tiny. Wait, did you pull the rest of the heart out? Is it among all this
Why don't
gore?
you just rip my heart out?
Because it's bad.
Now I'm taking parts of the lung out.
I do too, actually.
Oh, look at those lungs, Robbie. That's awesome.
Oh, there's juice. Is that intestine juice in there?
Should tell you
Or do you have to take a poo before you die?
anyone else that wants
Do you have
something
to
okay?
poop? Packed compared to Ori's.
Yeah, my gills kind of fell apart.
Cutting into the gummy worm part,
Okay, that's not the scientific name.
to the intestine.
So bleach it out and wipe it out and then bleach off your juice.
Doesn't that look just delicious?
Come on, back up first. No, like up to first.
4.3.2 Barramundi. Use a scalpel to make the cut from just behind the pectoral fin all the way to the anal fin. Next, make 2 vertical cuts from the ventral side of the fish to the dorsal side of the fish. One cut should be along the pectoral fin and the other cut should be moved vertically from the anal fin up to the dorsal side. Be sure not to cut too deeply, otherwise you may damage the internal structures of the fish. After that, open a bowl and create a window into the internal structures of fish. Keep cutting until the flap is easily opening. Remove the solid piece of muscle tissues and the eggs if you find eggs in the fish. Examine the fish insides and locate the heart, liver, stomach, intestines, and bladder. Use a scalpel to dissect the eyes and make sure to be very careful. Cut the eyes open and find a lens. Examine the fish mouth and gills.
Found in a single cell. You'll be comparing and contrasting the function of the organs and organelles and making connections about how they help the organism meet the needs of life. So as you can see in this video, I'm beginning by using my scalpel to make an incision along the ventral portion of the underside of the fish. So you want to make the cut from just behind the pectoral fin all the way to the anal fin. Once you've done that, run the scalpel through a few times to be sure that all the layers of tissue are severed. As I open up the first incision, I can see immediately that I have an egg-bearing female. The eggs are filling up the inside of the fish. If your fish has a similar material, you want to remove as much of it as possible throughout the dissection. Next, you will make 2 vertical cuts from the ventral side of the fish to the dorsal side of the fish, or otherwise bottom to top. One cut should be along the pectoral fin, and the other cut should move vertically from the anal fin up to the dorsal side. When making both cuts, be sure that they're clean cuts, and especially be sure not to cut too deeply. Otherwise, you may damage the internal structures of the fish. Again, if your fish has eggs, clean them as necessary. With these 3 cuts, you should have a flap that's easily openable and should create a window into the internal structures of the fish. Keep cutting until the flap is easily openable. You should be able to lift it up with that much effort and put it back. Check to be sure that you can do this. The first structure you will find is a solid piece of muscle tissue. Remove this, or cut it out using the scalpel and set it aside. We will be using it later. You will now see me using the scalpel to remove eggs and clean up the area for careful removal of the internal organs. Remember, this is only necessary if you yourself find eggs in the fish you're dissecting. Next, you will attempt to locate the intestines. They should be in the upper portion of the fish. If you haven't already done so, remove the stomach. It is a small loose sac. It kind of looks something like a torn balloon. It's probably a lot smaller than you would imagine.
Catfish. The dissection of catfish were cut from anus towards dorsal part, then continued towards anterior until operculum. Be sure not to cut too deeply, otherwise you may damage the internal structures of the fish. Cut around the body cavity so as to expose the internal organs. Then examine the fish insides and locate the heart, liver, stomach, intestines, kidneys, and swim bladder. Use a scalpel to dissect the eyes. Be very careful and cut away the operculum and examine the gills more closely. And I will show you guys the next videos of the demonstration of dissection of catfish.
And as you can see, the dorsal side, ventral side, you can see the anus and
The vent.
the vent.
So from looking at the external anatomy, our fish is female.
Give me something to go on. Look out, your camera eyepiece. See the red lipstick on your forehead. I know you tried with your deck of hearts, but boy, I'm the one you want. I know you tried to play it cool, but I'm the one you want. 'Cause babe, they all crave this wonderland.
Organs of the catfish. From what we can see, so looking from the internal anatomy, this is the liver, the gallbladder, the stomach, and behind is the spleen. Here. Continuing down the stomach is the intestines, and covering the intestines is adipose tissue or fats. Okay, and here at the end is the anus, opening.
Breathe in, we aren't stopping here. Clean, holy, white, sound stripping. Cars out front, we're both on fire. There's no going back. It's a screaming love cage. They're all looking at you, bet your mind tonight.
So this is the swim bladder. Behind is the kidneys. We will open it up now. Nakat ko yung kidney.
May kulang pa pala ako sa pag-
Straight tayo. So this is the kidney. Yeah.
They look like corals, don't they?
Yeah. So pseudobrachial, no known function.
Mine tonight. I'll be straight in my feet now. I'm wanting all of it. Stop your talk, shut up, give it up. You're a spectacle.
I am Muhammad Haris Ben Hermi, and I will present result and observation for our laboratory manual. For activity 4.1, which is identification of body shape and form of fish mouth. So fish has a several form of mouth, which, for example, we have upper view, lower form, terminal form, retractable form, and funnel shape form. So for the shape of the fish body, for example, here we have a sagittal shape, we have a torpedo shape, we have the brim shape, symmetrical flattened laterally, we also have a symmetrical flattened laterally, eel shape, and others. So this is the other shape of fish body. So for our experiment, we observe three types of fish, which is stingray, catfish, and barramundi. So first of all, we look at the form of fish mouth. Stingray has W-shaped mouth, catfish terminal mouth, and barramundi has retractable mouth. Shape of fish body: stingray has flattened body, catfish has a torpedo shape, while barramundi has a brim shape. For activity 4.2, we observe the external morphology of the fish. First one, we look at the stingray. So this is the external structure of the stingray. Stingray has one pair of eyes. It also has a spiracle at the left and right side. It has a pectoral fin here, flattened pectoral fin around the body. It also has a one pair of pelvic fin. It also has clasper, one pair of clasper, and this is the tail of stingray. At the tail, it has a stinger for protection. So this is the dorsal view for stingray. Next, for ventral view, this is the W-shaped mouth of stingray. So this is the gills, and this is the anus. So, what is the function of that external structure? Stingray has two structures that help it to breathe in the water. The first one is spiracle, second one is gills. Spiracle is used when the stingray is resting on the bottom of the ocean, while the gills is used to breathe in the water while swimming. Pectoral fin help it to fly through the water. Stinger defends themselves if threatened by a predator. Clasper for reproduction process. Pelvic fin to aid in bending locomotion, which is to move from one side to another side. Eyes help it keep a lookout even when the body is buried in the sand. Tail for protection. Mouth for feeding on the ocean bottom animal like crabs and shrimp. Lastly, anus to release the undigested material from body. The second one is we observe the barramundi. So, barramundi has a two type of dorsal fin, which is the first one is dorsal fin with spine, and another one is soft ray dorsal fin. So it also have a lateral line here. So this is the lateral line. Gills cover to protect the gills, eyes, mouth, pectoral fin, pelvic fin, anal fin, which is located near the anus, and caudal fin. So catfish has extra structure. We call that as a barbel. So there is four types of barbel, which is nasal barbel, mental barbel, mandibulary barbel, and maxillary barbel. So what is the function of that structure? So first one, we look at the gill cover. Gill cover is very important to protect the gills from broken or damage. Second one is lateral line. Lateral line is used as a sensory organ and also to determine the electrical current in the water. Caudal fin is used for propelling in the water. Dorsal fin help the fish to be stable while swimming. Anal fin is used for stability. Pelvic fin is to balance the fish from rolling side to side. Pectoral fin used for propelling and side to side movement. And barbel, sensory organ that help the fish to locate their food in the murky water, and also it acting as a taste buds or nostril. Lastly, activity 4.3, which is we observe the internal structure of the fish. So, fish has an air bladder which is very important for the fish. It also has a kidney, spinal column and cord, gills which is covered by gills cover, heart, liver, stomach, intestine, and gonad. So this is the view from lateral view. So for stingray, it has a gallbladder, heart, liver, stomach, intestine. So for result is, for the function is air bladder is very important for act as a buoyancy organ for the fish. It also helps fish to maintain its depth in water without sinking or floating upward. Kidney is filter liquid waste material from blood. Spinal column and cord is to connect the brain to the rest of the body, and also it relays sensory information from the body to the brain or instruction from the brain to the rest of the body. Heart, supplying oxygen and nutrient to the tissue and removing carbon dioxide. Liver, assists in digestion by secreting the enzyme. Stomach, break down food and absorb nutrient. Intestine, absorb water and nutrients. Gonad, as a reproductive organ. Gills, respiration organ. Gallbladder, store and release bile for digestion. So this is the structure of gills. So gills has a few parts, which is here we have the gills filament. In this picture we have a 4 filament. So this is the first one, second one, the third one, and fourth one. It also have the gill arch. So this is the gill arch between gill racle and gill filament. So this is the gill racle. So the function of gill filament is responsible for absorbing oxygen and expelling carbon dioxide. And it also functions to regulate level of mineral ions and the pH of the blood. Gill arch offers support for the gills as well as the blood vessel. Gill raker for filter feeding and to trap food particles. Then lastly, we look at the fish muscle. So, myotom is the fish muscle. Myotom is the orange color. Spinal cord here at the center. Vein is the white one. So this is the vein. So what is the function of spinal cord is the transmission of nerve signal to the body. Myotom is to generate the power for locomotion. And lastly, vein to collect blood from the capillaries and carry it to the heart.